Jared Dillian. Own your money, own your life.
I'm Jared Dillian. This is the Jared Dillian Show. Welcome to the, what day is today? I guess today's, feels like a Monday. Welcome to the Monday edition of the Jared Dillian Show. I look forward to talking with you about your money. Please call me to talk about your money at 844-305-7800. That's 844-305-7800. This is the Jared Dillian Show. You can also go to my website, which is jareddillianmoney.com. Or you can follow me on Twitter at DailyDirtNet. And by the way, I heard today that plastic surgeons have developed a surgery to fix resting bitch face, which I am frequently accused of having. My face just stays in that position. So there is hope for me. I can get the surgery. Let's talk about oil. I mean, you probably heard that oil was up a bunch today. There was an attack on the Saudi oil fields by Iranian drones. Look, I'm definitely not an expert on geopolitics. I don't know any of that stuff. It's not my job. Somebody else's job. But what is my job is the financial markets, and oil was up. At one point, it was up about 19 or 20%. It opened around $71 or $72 a barrel, and that was Brent crude, and it came back a bit. But that's still that's a huge move. And what does that mean for you? Well, it means that gas prices are going to go up 25 cents a gallon at least. So we'll talk about that. I do know some people who spend all their time just driving around looking at prices on gas stations and getting really mad when prices go up a penny. You do know people like that. It's weird. They're just obsessed with it. And they think that all the oil companies are crooks because they conspire to simultaneously raise oil prices all together because they're colluding or something like that. No. But, people are focused on gasoline prices. And let's just think about this for a second. So I have an SUV, but it's a pretty fuel-efficient SUV. I get maybe 25, 28 miles per gallon or something like that. But I probably get gas once every 7 to 10 days, maybe 4 times a month. And when I fill up, I generally get about 12 gallons. So 12 times 25 cents, $3 twice. So basically, I would spend an extra $12 a month on gas, which is not really going to break the bank. I think people spend a little bit too much time worrying about gas prices. By the way, if you, gas prices used to be a lot higher. Go back to, I want to say 2010, 11, 12, somewhere around there. I mean, even, I live in the state, by the way. I live in the state that has the lowest gas prices in the country, South Carolina. New Jersey is the second lowest, which seems weird because New Jersey is a high-tax state, but there's a lot of refineries in New Jersey. So one of the things that affects the price of gasoline is actually transportation costs, how far you are from a refinery. It costs a lot of money to transport gas from a refinery to the gas station, and that's a lot of the cost. So New Jersey has a bunch of refineries, and they have very low gas prices, and we just have low gas prices because we have very low taxes. And they're going to be going up, but even still, not a lot. So when I drove down the highway this morning, I saw the gas was $2.09 a gallon, and it's probably going to go up to $2.40-ish, but still super, super low. If you live in California, gas prices are not that low. You're probably seeing high $3s, $4 gas prices already, and they're going to go even higher, and that's a function of taxes. By the way, especially under President Obama, I think there were 16 different investigations into gas prices, for price gouging, and none of them ever turned up anything at all. The whole business of selling gasoline is very competitive. I mean, you'll have 2 gas stations across the road from each other, and they have the same price, and they have to have the same price because if one was a penny higher, they would lose all the business. And by the way, gas stations don't make money selling gas. They make anywhere from 0 to 10 cents a gallon selling gas, which is not enough to cover their costs. And basically, they make all their money selling Slim Jims and Big Gulps, all the stuff in the store. That's how they make their money, is off the store. It's not the gas. So when you're driving down the highway, you're like, yeah, damn oil companies. It's not. Stop. It's not. I mean, if you think about the effort required to extract oil out of the ground. Like, first of all, like if you think about fracking, like drilling down, then drilling sideways, then spraying sand to break up the rock, then sucking the oil out, and then putting it in a pipeline and sending it to a refinery, and they turn it into gasoline, and they put it on a truck, and they take it to a gas station, and you get it with your pump, and you're mad because it costs $2 a gallon? It's cheaper than water. Just stop complaining. People are so spoiled. Go live in Europe. It's like $8 a gallon. It's insane. I mean, come on. So let me just educate you a little bit. There's two benchmarks for oil prices. One is called WTI, which stands for West Texas Intermediate, and the other is Brent, which is sort of like North Sea Brent crude. Oftentimes they're different prices. Brent crude tends to be a little bit higher. That's called, never mind, I'm not even going to tell you what that's called. We have low oil prices here in the United States. The United States is the biggest oil producer in the world. Used to be Saudi Arabia. We used to be dependent on Saudi Arabian oil from the Persian Gulf, from Kuwait and stuff like that. And if you remember from the late 70s, the Iran oil embargo, they closed off the Strait of Hormuz and we couldn't get any oil and oil prices skyrocketed. So that doesn't happen anymore because we produce more than anybody else, and that is because of something called fracking. Yes, fracking, which is the process, like I described, of horizontal drilling, which is, the fracking isn't really even the innovation. The innovation is drilling down and then the mechanics of drilling sideways into rock. It's called horizontal drilling, and then they take sand and they blast this rock, which contains oil, and they basically vaporize it and then suck the oil out. And, this technology is not new. Everybody knew we could do this. And basically, if you go back to the 80s, for example, the Canadian tar sands, there's oil up in Alberta, Canada. And people said, well, we know there's oil there, but it's just not cost effective to get it until it goes about $40 a gallon. And eventually it did get up there, and then it became cost effective, and then we started getting it. We're not going to run out of oil, probably ever. So, yes. Yeah, so the best cure for high prices of oil is high prices. That may seem counterintuitive, but let me explain. So oil prices went up, I think in the U.S., WTI went from $55 to $61. So at $61, all of a sudden, oil becomes a lot more attractive to produce. People are like, I'm a lot more excited about $61 oil than $55 oil. And there's some projects which didn't make sense at $55 a barrel, and it makes sense at $61 a barrel. So basically what happens when the price of oil goes up, more production comes online, which brings more oil to the market, which makes oil prices go back down eventually. And the best cure for low prices is low prices. So basically when the price of oil gets really low, it got down to about $30 a barrel in 2014, oil producers have to stop producing because it's not profitable. They're producing at a loss, so they take production offline, and there's less oil and there's more demand for it, so the price of oil goes up. So the best cure for high prices is high prices, and the best cure for low prices is low prices. Let's talk about climate change for a little bit. Carbon emissions are theoretically supposed to cause rising temperatures. I'm not going to get into a dog pile about that. Let me just say that the solution to this is hard. First of all, China produces most of the emissions in the world. So even if we were to get rid of all cars and ride around on burros, China would still be pumping out huge amounts of carbon into the atmosphere, and we can't make them stop. Right. So I'm not saying it's, counterproductive to lower our emissions, but it doesn't do much. OK, that's number one. Number two, if everybody were to go to electric cars, we don't have enough lithium in the world to make those batteries. There literally is not enough lithium. Lithium is another natural resource like oil that is scarce, and you find it in sort of like these briny salt ponds in Argentina, and they get sucked out of there. That's really the only place in the world where you get lithium. And we barely have enough lithium for Elon Musk's Tesla factories, let alone giving everybody in the country an electric car. There just simply isn't enough lithium. So there's all kinds of technological challenges that we have to solve before we get to some kind of state where we have, much, much less carbon emissions. So that is the story with that. But we're going to talk about, in just seconds, when we come back, sort of the financial challenges that you face because of high oil prices. We're going to talk about some of the things that happened today in the financial markets and whether these high oil prices are going to continue, what it does to your portfolio, and perhaps whether you should invest in oil, whether that makes any sense. I'm Jared Dillian. This is the Jared Dillian Show.
The Jared Dillian Show.